where it says multiply to check your answer. How do you do that? And she'd desperately hop around while showing them. I knew the way the girls all paired up, and Julia and Anna Marie had been paired up for a long time. Julia I hated. Anna Marie I'd never thought about much. My first memory of Julia is from second grade when we made self-portraits in art. She complained there was no cafe au lait construction paper for her skin, or 60% cacao chocolat color for her eyes. I remember staring at her while these words came out of her mouth and thinking, your skin is light brown. Your eyes are dark brown. Why don't you just use brown, you idiot? Jay Stringer didn't complain about the construction paper, and neither did any of the other 10 kids using brown. I didn't complain about the stupid hot pink color I'd been given. Did my skin look hot pink to her? But I soon found out that Julia wasn't like the rest of us. She took trips all over the world with her parents. She would disappear from school and show up 2 weeks later with satin ribbons worked into her braids, or with a new green velvet scoop neck dress, or wearing 3 gold rings on one finger. She'd learned about 60% cacao chocolat, she said, in Switzerland, where her parents bought her a lot of it, along with a little silver watch she was always shoving in people's faces. I still don't know what Anna Marie did wrong, but during silent reading period that Tuesday, Julia told her that as punishment, she wasn't going to have lunch with Anna Marie for the remainder of the week. Julia was big on announcing things in a loud voice so that everyone could hear her. So on Wednesday, I asked Anna Marie if she wanted to go out to lunch with me, and she said yes. In 6th grade, kids with any money, even just a little, go out for lunch unless something is going on and they won't let us. Like the first week of school when there was a man running down Broadway, stark naked, and we all had to eat lunch in the school cafeteria while the police tried to catch him. Mostly kids go to the pizza place or to McDonald's, or every once in a while to the sandwich place, which has a real name but which we call Jimmy's, because there was never anyone working there except one guy called Jimmy. Pizza is the best deal. $1.50 will buy 2 slices, a can of soda, and a cherry blow pop from the candy bucket next to the register. That first day together, Anna Marie and I got lucky and found 2 stools next to each other at the counter under the flag of Italy. I found it slightly gross to eat pizza with Anna Marie because she peeled the cheese off her slice like a scab and ate it, leaving everything else on her plate. But she laughed at my jokes, which I mostly stole from Richard, who was bad at telling jokes, but knows a lot of them, and she invited me over to her house after school, which more than made up for it. I would be spared an afternoon of listening to Sal's basketball, and the laughing man might sleep under his mailbox by the time I walked home. Things that burn. Anna Marie's apartment didn't involve keys. Instead, she had a doorman who slapped her 5 and a dad who opened the door upstairs. Did your dad take the day off? I whispered. No, Anna Marie said. He works from home. He illustrates medical journals. Is your mom here too? She shook her head. She's at work. Anna Marie's bedroom was about the same size as mine, but it had nice curtains and the walls were completely covered with all kinds of pictures and photographs, which I couldn't stop looking at. There must have been 100 of them. We've known each other for a long time, Anna Marie said, sitting down on her bed, which had some kind of Asian bedspread and about 50 pillows on it. Who? She blushed. Oh, I thought you were looking at the pictures of Julia. That's when I noticed her room was covered with pictures of Julia. Maybe not covered exactly, but there were a lot of them. The 2 of them in pajamas, or in the park, or standing together, all dressed up outside some theater. Knock, knock. Anna Marie's dad came in with these tiny sausages on a plate. I'm on a deadline, he said to me. When I'm on a deadline, I cook. Do you like mustard? Try the dipping sauce. I'll be right back with some apple cider. He was back in 30 seconds with a glass of cider for me, but he handed Anna Marie what looked like plain water. She didn't seem to notice. Anna Marie's rug was spongy and soft, almost like another bed. I lay down on it. Mustard always makes my lip burn, but I didn't care. It was worth it. The winner's circle. Mom is getting very good at the speed round. She almost always gets 7 words in 30 seconds now, no matter who is giving the clues and who is guessing. The second part of the $20,000 pyramid is called the winner's circle because you have to win the speed round to get there. In the winner's circle, the celebrity partner gives the clues and the contestant has to guess. Not words, but categories. So if the celebrity says tulip, daisy, rose, the contestant would say types of flowers. That's an easy one. Some of the categories are hard to figure out, like things you recite, poetry, the Pledge of Allegiance, or things you squeeze, a tube of toothpaste, someone's hand. The last category is always incredibly hard to guess. Maybe things you prolong, or things that are warped. The last category is what stands between the contestants and the big money. And Mom says it doesn't help that some of these celebrity partners are dumb as a bag of hair. If Mom wins her first speed round and correctly guesses all the categories in the winner's circle, she'll win $10,000. If she wins a second speed round, the winner's circle is worth $15,000. And if she wins a third time, she'll go for $20,000. That's what I mean by big money. During the speed round, you can point or gesture all you want. If the word is nose, you can point to your nose. But the rules change in the winner's circle. No hand movements of any kind are allowed, which is why I'm tying Richard's arms to my desk chair. I'm not using the clove hitch. You've got it reversed again, Richard says, watching me. That end should go through the loop. That's it, right. Mom is looking at us like we're crazy. Is this really necessary? She has to practice, he tells her, for when you win the sailboat. Mom rolls her eyes. I get my cards ready. I've written everything in fat block letters so Richard can read them from a distance. I'm going to hold them up one at a time behind Mom's head, where Richard can see them. In the real show, they'll have these on big panels that spin around behind the contestant's head to reveal the next category. But obviously, we don't have that kind of technology. Louisa's lunchtime notes are good. She's even written down what Dick Clark says at the beginning of every winner's circle. He always uses the same words. Here is your first subject. Go. We set the egg timer for 1 minute. Mom has to guess the name of 6 categories before it goes off. Here is your first subject, I say, trying to sound like Dick Clark. Go. I hold up the first card so Richard can see it. The card says, things you climb. Richard nods and starts giving Mom's clues. A jungle gym, a mountain. High things, Mom guesses. Richard shakes his head. Stairs, things that go up, she yells. He shakes his head again. A ladder, things you climb. Ding, I say and hold up the next card. Okay, Richard says. Paris, cheese, wine. Fancy things, Mom yells. Romantic things. Fries. French things. Ding. Next card. A pillow, Richard says. A kitten. Soft things. A cotton ball. Puffy things. Fluffy things. Ding. Next card. A baby carriage. A shopping cart. Things that carry things, Mom guesses. Things on wheels. Richard shakes his head, thinks, and says, a button. Things you push. Ding. The egg timer goes off. We all look at each other. Mom has only guessed 4 of the 6 category. No one says anything. It's okay, Mom says finally. We still have 2 more weeks. Things you keep secret. It was a while before I realized that the kid who punched Sal went to our school. We were working on our projects for Main Street, which is a scale model of a city block that we're constructing in the back of our classroom. Mr. Topkins' class studies buildings every year. Mom says he's a frustrated architect. Why is he frustrated, I asked. It's complicated. She said it had to do with the war. Teachers didn't have to go fight in Vietnam, so a lot of young men who didn't want to fight became teachers instead of what they really wanted to be, she meant. Jay Stringer, who is a 12-year-old genius and the head of the Main Street Planning Board, had already built an entire cardboard building, complete with fire escapes and a water tower. and he just started 2 phone booths that he said would have tiny doors that folded open and closed. Anna Marie was busy with her pebbles and her extra strength glue, working on a stone wall for the park that Jay Stringer had approved the week before. Julia was making a tinfoil UFO that she said would fly up and down the street on an invisible wire. The UFO hadn't been approved yet, but Julia was going ahead with it anyway. She had written "proposal pending" on a piece of paper and taped it to the end of a shoebox full of foil and fishing line. Alice Evans was trying to make fire hydrants out of clay, which so far just looked like pathetic lumps. Having to pee so badly all the time must have made it hard for her to concentrate. I worked on the diagrams for my playground proposal. My slide looked too steep, and then too flat, and then too messy because I had raced so much. I would have to ask for another sheet of graph paper, which always made Jay Stringer sigh and roll his eyes, because he brought it from home. The classroom phone rang, and after he answered it, Mr. Topkin asked if anyone wanted to go be an office monitor for a while. I raised my hand. The school secretary usually gives office monitors a few bits of honeys or Hershey Kisses. I grabbed my book and rode the banisters down to the first floor, where I found Willie at her desk in the main office. She's called the secretary, but as far as I can tell, she basically runs the school, and she tries to do it without getting out of her desk chair, which has wheels, which is why everyone calls her Willie. She rolls herself around the office all day by pushing off the floor with her feet. It's like a pinball in slow motion. "The dentist needs a runner," she said to me, kicking herself over to a desk where she picked up a sheet of paper. It's weird to go to a school for almost 7 years and then one day discover that there's a dentist office inside it. But that's exactly what happened. Willie stood up, and I followed her out of the office and around the corner to a short dead-end hall. I'd never thought about it before. There was one open door, and on the other side of it was a real dentist office. We walked into a waiting area, and I could see into another room with a regular dentist chair. It had a little white sink attached and one of those big silver lights over it. The walls were covered with posters about eating apples and plaque and brushing your teeth. Willie called out, "Bruce!" and a guy with short gray beard popped his head into the waiting room. He was wearing one of those green doctor tops, and he gave me a perfect smile. "Hey there, are you my first appointment?" "No, this is Miranda," Willie said. "She's your runner. I have the patient list right here," and she handed me the piece of paper. I saw a bunch of names and classroom numbers. "They go to the dentist at school?" I said. "That's so weird." Willie snatched back the paper. There are 98 sixth graders in this school. 89 of them are in attendance today, so if you can't do this politely, you can go straight back to your classroom and I'll find another one for the job. I felt my face go hot and actually thought I might cry. Sometimes when I'm caught off guard, I cry at almost nothing. The dentist put a hand on my shoulder and smiled again. He was like a professional smiler, which makes sense for a dentist, I guess. "My services don't cost anything, Miranda. Some families don't have the money to pay a dentist. Or they could really use the money for something else." "Oh, I was thinking I shouldn't let my mother find out about this. She's always complaining how health care should be free for everyone. I bet she would have signed me up for the dentist at school in no time."